Hello everyone, hope you ate well, and I won't be the sleeping pill that will put you down with your food. And today I have some good news and bad news. So the bad news is that we're at war, right? The good news, we can win this war. As you can see, showing you here, the rise of traffic costs, right? The red marked thing there is Black Friday, so that's what last year's Black Friday. That's what expecting us this Friday, right? So as you can see, traffic costs or CPMs are going up, and we need to do something about it. Why it's important? So obviously, when CPMs or traffic costs go up, less advertisers can compete for traffic. And just a question, who runs traffic here? Okay, so when traffic costs go up, more of us get out of the game. And basically you need to work harder to get the same results or worse. And we all love bargains, especially here in Israel. We love bargains, we want cheap traffic because it would improve our ROAS. So how did we get here? Basically there's always an equilibrium between the traffic costs on one side and revenue models on the market, right? So recently revenue models outgrew the inventory or supply of traffic that's available in the market. And it means that conversion rates overall grew, AOVs grew, lifetime values grew, and another problem which we're going to talk about, cheap financing for lifetime value. And I call it the Netflix factor, right? So we're mainly selling financial products like mortgages or insurances or health products, health supplements. But still, Netflix are a big competitor of ours because Netflix's customers, they fight for inventory with us, right? So whoever they try to acquire, some of these people we try to acquire as well. So basically in the past 12 months, I checked in the financial reports of Netflix yesterday, Netflix had a negative cash flow of $2.88 billion. And in 2018, they had a negative cash flow of $2.85. Netflix's budget on marketing and advertising is $1 billion a year. And their average CAC or CPA in our case is about $90. Now, imagine all the traffic you're running, right? And imagine your offers that you run at $90 CPA, right? And try to compare it with Netflix. It's not such a fair game, right? And eventually what happens, it takes Netflix 7.9 months to break even on a customer. And we don't have the cheap money that Netflix has. And we need to compete with them. And it would be hard, but not impossible. So one more factor is basically the cheap money in our economy. So we have here a research by, it's hard to pronounce this name, but Chamath worked at Facebook. He was an engineer at Facebook. Now he runs social capital. So he did the research, and 40 cents of every dollar invested in startups ends up going to Google, Facebook, and Amazon. Big part on it on advertising, other part on cloud services. And Andrew Chan, you can read the quote, speaks about the high advertising or acquisition costs, right? So the question we need to ask is, are CPMs or traffic costs going to revert back to normal? So I put two scenarios here. On one hand, if interest rates would go up, the amount of cheap money in the economy would disappear and it will give us more of equilibrium. If we hit a recession, Netflix won't be able to issue new stocks and or all the other companies that are like Netflix. Or the third scenario for mean aversion, in the CPM space is a new major traffic source, like it happened with what Outbrain and Taboola did a few years back, right? So basically a few years back we had Google and we had Facebook and few minor traffic sources, and then Outbrain and Taboola popped into our life and basically decreased the CPMs. So here are the scenarios that CPMs won't revert. So essentially we need evolution in revenue models, right? Maybe one-click billing, someone mentioned Apple Pay, or Libra, the new cryptocurrency of Facebook. Imagine just imagine just paying with Libra on Facebook with one click. This would increase conversion rates and would help us. The CPMs would rise, but the conversion rates and AOVs and lifetime values will compensate on it, and it would give us an edge again. And the last scenario that I thought of is an introduction of new technology that would help us segment users better, like Facebook did with their Facebook Pixel about 2 or 3 years ago. It's like the second version of Facebook Pixel. Right, so we don't care about any of this. We want to win in every situation. So the worst case CPM will keep going up. We still want to win. We still want to fight for the impression and take it and monetize it. And in the best case, our ROAS would grow much more heavily. So we should serve the impression or fight for the impression in any case. The best case scenario is just a bonus, all right? So here's what I'm going to cover. I want to tell you our one strategy most important strategy for optimization, 6 tactics to increase your ROAS, 6 ways to optimize your operations regarding traffic acquisition, and 4 ideas to grow your revenue models. Oh, first, how I learned this stuff. I started in the industry as a media buying affiliate in 2008, thanks to this guy. There, he had a blog on online marketing that I read, and that's what motivated me to start. I was doing Google and Bing search, then I moved to Google Display Network, which is Google Content Network for all guys, and Facebook. Then I did some SEO and got back to Google search. But eventually everything collapsed in around 2012, 2011, and guess what the reason is? Increasing traffic costs. So I had to evolve, and in 2013 I stumbled upon this book, The Intelligent Investor, which has no relation to traffic acquisition, and it talks about investments, right? The guy who wrote this book, Benjamin Graham, was Warren Buffett's teacher, and what I liked a lot about this book is the systematic approach of buying stocks, and I also imagine in my mind the similarities between buying traffic or stocks or commodities in the capital market. So basically, impressions are commodity. They're being traded in real time in traffic exchanges. It takes around 100 milliseconds to acquire an impression on DSPs, and then we have Taboola, Outbrain, Facebook, Google for interface that hunt for these impressions. And this presentation is a tribute to Benjamin Graham and all these guys that I learned from about investing but applied it in media buying. So since 2013, I bought media on almost every possible platform. On search, I did Google Bing, I did display, pay-per-view, pops, adult traffic, tried majority of the social networks. We're still pretty heavy on natives, and recently I have a new hobby, which is direct media buying directly from publishers. So the #1 strategy is efficiency above all. Lots of times I got asked how to scale media buying campaigns or raw media buying campaigns, but in my opinion, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is efficiency, right? And this is our strategy. We always optimize for efficiency. I don't care about CTRs, don't care about revenue, don't care about scale, only about the efficiency of the campaign, and we'll cover and see how we achieve it. So Efficiency might include everything I mentioned and none of them. And you'll see what I mean. So the pillars of efficiency are traffic efficiency. You need your campaigns to be efficient. Then we'll touch operational efficiency. This is how you set up your campaigns in an efficient way. And then we need to talk about revenue generation efficiency. And one of the most important things that I got from the intelligent investor is thinking in terms of percentages and not absolute numbers. And you'll see why. Because only percentages matters. And obviously, in our space, you measure efficiency in terms of ROAS, or return on ad spend, or ROI. This is basically the same formulation, +1, -1. So this is a percentage. But on traffic efficiency, you need to understand your role. You are the R on ROAS, right? Because you are the revenue model of the traffic source you're running. And this is something important to understand, because the traffic source you work with, they expect you to drive the traffic costs up, which leads you to a little bit tough game to play, because on one hand, you're buying traffic from the traffic source, but they expect you to pay more, right? To pay premiums. Nevertheless, you should be like Airbnb. So the reason Airbnb are successful is because they can monetize a square meter better than their alternatives. And that's where you should thrive. You need to optimize every single impression or click and to be the best monetizer of that impression. So traffic efficiency is important because you have the law of diminishing returns, right? First of all, you cannot just scale a campaign. There's always a trade-off between scale and ROAS, right? The more budget you spend, the less your ROAS would be. And so basically, traffic efficiency is important just to scale your ad efforts. And the first traffic efficiency tactic I want to talk about is segmentation, all right? Here, I'm giving an example of a split test. If you can see here, this is just an example of a split test where Group B won Group A. But what happens in real life is that it's not that Creative B is better than Creative A. What happens is that there's a big group of people. The common denominator prefers Creative B. But what happens is that Creative A works better than Creative B on small chunk of people. And here where segmentation comes. That's how you need to think about segmentation. You need to slice your traffic continuously and try to improve your revenue or ROAS per segment. So the goal is to isolate segments. You optimize creatives or tailor campaigns for segments, but that's how you basically optimize for efficiency. You need to do lots of slicing and preparing yourself to be the best for this segment. And also, some segments not worthy of running. So here are some ideas for segments. You can do per country. You can do per state. And I actually had success on Facebook, for example, on segmenting by state. You can do per language and country. So I did a campaign some time ago, actually quite a lot of time ago, where I targeted Spanish speakers in the United States with an English offer, because the default was targeting English speakers in the United States. So what happened is the Spanish speaker in the United States also speak English, and it brought me really good returns on this campaign. So you can do different delivery for per device type, whether it's Android or iPhone. Scheduling, it's also important to give away not good hours of the day, right? So scheduling might work really well if you concentrate your efforts and become the best on a certain hour of the day. Basically, when you do segment your campaigns like that, you shrink them down, right? You won't have these big, huge $5,000 a day campaigns. But as I said, what's important is thinking in percentage and in terms of ROI. So my goal is always to get the highest ROI or ROAS. And obviously you have audiences where you can segment your audiences by age. We actually had success with it in the supplement space, where we were able to sell a supplement to millennials, which is not the typical market of supplements, just by segmenting. So another tactic I want to talk about is budgeting. Budgeting is super, super undervalued tactic. Lots of media buyers that I've seen, and we did it as well a few times, is running with huge budget, and your campaign never reaches the target budget. The way to use budgets is to contain risk. So a good way to work with budgets is create a segment, run on a segment on a budget, and optimize it over time. That way it won't you lose the money over time. You split the risk over time of losing the money. The next thing I want to talk about is bundling. This is another thing we did successfully, is bundling small segments, super small segments that doesn't make sense. So you need to have a feel for your segments. And for example, one of the segments that we ran, that we bundled, was lots of islands, lots of small islands. So we ran an international offer, and there are lots of small islands like Aruba, Isle of Man, or across the world, and no one targets them. So the traffic costs are really cheap there, but it doesn't make sense. They're so small, they're smaller than Israel. It doesn't make sense to run a single campaign there. So we bundled them all together, had zero competition, converted in the Vatican, by the way, and it worked. Another thing you can bundle is publishers. Same goes with small publishers and audiences. One example for bundling in Facebook, you can bundle your engaged, a lookalike of your engaged audience with a lookalike of your buyers. That way you get both good CTRs and good conversion rates. This is another thing that worked for us. Bot traps. So I assume that most of you buy on Facebook or Google or Taboola and Outbrain, and you won't need to worry about it. But if you're going to some second tier or third tier network, be aware of bots. We made a lot of money just by filtering bots, okay? Because in lots of these traffic sources, bots are standard, right? So what we did with bots, first of all, we caught them, then we proved to the network that we received bots, then we got a refund, and fourth, we blocked the publishers. Usually, the bots are concentrated on some amount of publishers. You can filter them, you can block them, you can request a refund, and the best thing, you leave the bot publishers to your competition. So the way you do it, simply place an invisible link on top of your landing page and try tracking whoever goes there. If someone clicked there, it's a bot, and then look at the percentages. Which publishers send you lots of bots? So, and intelligent retargeting. Everyone knows retargeting and speaks about retargeting about something that, by the way, this is one of my personal favorites. Everyone speaks about retargeting just in a way, okay, let's get back the user to the funnel. But you can do so much more with retargeting. You can test new offers on retargeting. Basically, when you have retargeting, you have a bucket of people that you know would more likely to respond in a certain way than the other buckets. And if you if you have a bucket of clickers or people who visited your site through ads, you know they're clickers, they're gonna click. If you have a list of buyers, you can expect them higher conversion rate, right? So also another advantage of retargeting when you run on traffic networks where you have lots of publishers is to do run on network. So basically, it helps you to build white lists that you can then reuse. And the last strategy that I also really like, you don't have to run, right? You don't have to run on a network if you don't have the advantage. These days, so 2019 is the first year in years that we have 0 impressions on Facebook, because I think I cannot, sure I can make profit there, I can run, but I think I cannot bring the ROI that I expect of myself to bring, and that's why I don't run. And another thing I want to touch here is don't underestimate small traffic sources. So sometimes I speak with people in the media industry and they kind of laugh at Bing, but there's nothing to laugh about because they bring 7.6 billion in revenue from ad spend. And I buy 0.1% of that, or even from 100 million traffic source. In fact, one of my biggest successes ever was with an ad network called MyLikes. It was, I don't know, a really small network, but we were the biggest advertisers there, and they don't exist anymore. So just look for more traffic sources and don't run wherever you cannot bring the margin. So the summary here for this section is just always think about your ROI, think about the efficiency that your traffic brings. Don't care about scale or anything like that, because we're going to touch scale later. All right, so operational efficiency. Now once we have one super high margin campaign, we wanted to replicate it. For all these past 6 years, my whole strategy of scaling wasn't by increasing traffic to a certain campaign. If I have a good campaign, good. Now I need to create several more campaigns. And this where comes operational efficiency. It essentially answers the question, how can I manage hundreds or thousands of campaigns all together? So in order to touch that, I want to talk about the 80-20 fallacy, right? So 80-20 in the past decade become like something that everyone talks about in terms of business perspective, and in my opinion misunderstands it or interprets it in a wrong way, right? Because the common knowledge in the media buying industry is just work on your 20% of the best campaigns, kill your 80%. But here's the problem with that. If you have 100 campaigns and you killed 80 campaigns, you're left with 20. Then you can kill another 80% of your campaigns, because it's a law of nature. You'll always have a power distribution. You'll always have some campaigns that perform more than the others. So essentially, you go from 100 to 20 to 4 to 1. And that would be the best. So my strategy was always work on all the campaigns and grow the 100%, or grow the pool of your campaigns. That way you'll have more of the 20%. So this is basically how we do it. We optimize 100% of the campaigns in bulks. We do it really efficiently, which I'm going to explain how. And we try to make more campaigns like the 20%. So basically we try not to touch the 20%, but we go to the next decile, and we try to make better campaigns than the 20%, and that's how we keep growing. So a good tip for that is log your optimizations. Whenever you optimize a campaign, that's the first step. You need to log everything. Just have a diary for campaigns and write whatever you're doing. Because there are 4 types of decisions in this game. You have good decisions, bad decisions, profitable decisions, and losing decisions. And they're not the same. Sometimes you'll do the right thing, you'll take the right decision, but you'll still lose. And sometimes you'll make really bad decision that would end up really well. So you need to distinguish these 4 decisions, right? And in order to do that, you need to log. Then minimize the time you spend per campaign. Once you'll start logging all your campaigns or all your actions on the campaigns, you'll start seeing that there are stuff that works, stuff that doesn't work, and you'll be able to minimize the time you spend per campaign, right? And, oh, sorry. and finally, grow the 100%, right? For all the media buyers I trained in our company, the most important KPI for a media buyer is how many campaigns they can manage concurrently, right? In high ROAS environments, like we used to have a year or two, the amount of campaigns you'll manage would be slightly less. But in bad times or hard traffic times, it would be you'll have slightly more campaigns with lower ROAS, because essentially you contain the ROAS in the size of the campaign. So everyone always asks how to scale a campaign, but no one asks how to scale my media buying business. And this is how you do it. You just need to train yourself to work on lots of campaigns, lots of data. I can tell you that when I was running Facebook, at one point in time I managed 5,000 ad sets concurrently, right? And it's not that hard. The number is really big, but it's not that hard because I'm doing it systematically. So my three-step process in the past 6-7 years of optimizing campaigns is, first, I aggregate all the data in a spreadsheet in Excel, and then I'll start taking decisions, right? I make all the decisions on Excel, and third step, what you do is execute the decisions. It's just a monkey work, just to look what you said you'll do on Excel or a spreadsheet, and then you implement it in the network. So how we achieved this? Some of it was with VAs that collecting data every single day. So VAs were collecting. Some networks have really good exports, and some stuff we coded through APIs. And same goes with executing the decisions. Some decisions went through VAs, some decisions went through automating, and some decisions I simply made. In Facebook, by the way, and Google, you simply can import an Excel with all your decisions and it will work. So remember, one thing, quality derived from quantity. Whenever we had the most campaigns and the highest ROAS, we had the biggest campaigns as well. So we had campaigns that did, our biggest campaign I think was 100K a day, but it all 100K a day spent. It lasted for 2 days maybe, but it all happened in a high campaign environment. Because the thing with winning campaigns, it's really hard to replicate it. Sometimes it's luck, sometimes it's God, I don't know. But when you have massive list of campaigns, you're increasing your odds of a home run, right? So last thing, avoid concentration risk. So what happens when in a power law environment, you eventually get to one campaign that is bigger than all. And even though you need to fight the 80-20 rule or the power law, you need to do it because then you're concentrated. You cannot afford to put all your time in this big campaign. You cannot concentrate on this one campaign. So the best thing to do is to try to replicate it, try to make better campaigns, and you do it with your second-tier campaigns, which I discussed previously, and always ask yourself, are you concentrating on one traffic source, one campaign, one offer or client, one landing page, or one funnel? And always try to beat these odds. So another important thing is whenever you do a test, don't do tests on the premise of will it work or not. Don't do that. Try to have a thesis before you run experiments. Answer the questions, why do you think it will work? What are the reasons that it might not work? What you'll do if it works? What you'll do if it doesn't work? Don't run experiments without it, because if you do that, your experiments would replicate the average performance on accounts. That's my experience with A/B tests or everything. Have a thesis of why it would work. So the summary, use 80-20 the right way. In my opinion, that's the right way. Or you can come up with your own interpretation and grow the amount of campaigns you're running, grow the average return of your campaign. Next thing is revenue model efficiency. Why? So here's a story from Thursday. So all of you seen a small, tiny company got acquired by PayPal on Thursday called Honey for $4 billion. So the founder of Honey is a good friend of my brother-in-law, and I spoke with my brother-in-law about him, and he said me the funniest thing ever. He said me that he visited his office like several months back, and he told them, listen man, you're not running your campaigns efficiently, right? You can do way better than that. And what he said, you know guys what he said? I don't care. It's still profitable. Because what Honey did is amazing. They had really good business model, really good lifetime value, and essentially Honey are kind of like Netflix in the sense of they have a really good revenue model that they just can simply buy everyone and bully the competition away. And it's the hardest thing to achieve, but if you guys can achieve that, all the previous steps doesn't have to be necessary. But I have to say that because we're trying, it's the hardest space, we're still trying to improve our efficiency, but I wanna explain how we're trying to do it or how we approach it, and we have a couple more ways of doing that. But your long-term goal should be improve your revenue model efficiency, or basically how much money you generate per impression. So, sorry. Okay, so exclusivity. When you run offers, whether with clients or as affiliates, work on exclusive deals. Now, you all might think that I'm the big guy, I've been in the traffic space for 12 years, everyone wants to make exclusive with me. I want to tell you this, my best exclusive deals was with small partners. No one cared about them, but they worked. So any one of you would be able to achieve this deal. Just be there, help other small guys, and they'll give you exclusivity. Again, all my best exclusive deals were with small guys that we helped them grow. Next thing is maximize clicks out. So this is a big one. Actually, the idea is this. You're sending people to your landing page. Your goal is to get as many clicks as possible from this landing page. It doesn't work all the time. We actually did over the weekend the test. Didn't end up so well, but we had a thesis. Our thesis was to maximize the clicks out. What happened is that, for example, exit intents. We started working with exit intents in 2012 or 2013. When we launched them, they literally doubled our revenue. It was amazing. They doubled our revenue overnight just by introducing exit intents on the landing page. It was several years back, and it's the most extreme example because results are not typical even for us. And but this is the power of maximizing the clicks out of your landing page. Another idea that might work for you guys is that when you send people to your landing page and they click the call to action out, open this new click in a new tab and change whatever was on the old tab. That way, when they will get back to your old tab, you'll have another offer, a discount, or whatever works. But basically, always try to think how to maximize the amount of clicks going out of your landing page. Next one is basically for affiliates, but I assume it would work for agencies as well. Ask for pay bumps. 2 months ago, we achieved, again, the results aren't typical, but we were running an offer for $110 CPA. We just asked for a bump and got 190. It's almost 100% increase in, these are not typical bumps, but Anna here knows I like to ask bumps weekly. So make a habit. You're probably not asking enough. When I ask Anna for a bump and she gives it to me, I said, damn, I should have asked earlier this week. So there's no, like the best frequency of asking for a bump is daily, I'd guess. So intangible bumps. This is something pretty new. You always want to get the most of your relationships, your clicks, of everything, right? So intangible bumps is my idea, I don't know, but it's something we do. So sometimes the offer owner won't be able to give you a bump because they can't, don't want to lose money, and otherwise they'll be in loss. You can ask for other favors from them. So it starts from using the workforce, like for creative creation. You can ask for them to put your retargeting pixel on their page and retarget other affiliates traffic. You can ask for emails of the customers that you produced. You can ask for hashed mails to create audiences on Facebook and Google, and tickets for trade shows, introductions. You can do traffic swaps. Just be creative. Like the fact that you didn't get a bump, it doesn't mean that you cannot get something else, because if they appreciate you, they'll give you other intangible bumps that you can convert to monetary value. And okay, summary about revenue model efficiency. Always think about how you make more, how you position yourself more than the competition. So basically what I talked about, intangible revenue bumps, in my opinion, for us, these are the biggest lifts would be there, because when you ask for something intangible that doesn't cost them money, but they already pay for it, it can double your business. So sometimes we simply run just because of the intangible bump that we get from another way. Just look for exchanging mutual values. By the way, whenever I'm talking about getting bumps, my intention is not to corner the offer owner. I'm looking for mutual benefits, and I would never ask for a bump if I know I wouldn't provide value. So it's like mutual value exchange. So basically, for summary, the intelligent media buyer operates traffic with ROAS as his #1 priority, scales traffic horizontally by minimizing the time spent per campaign, and creates durable competitive advantage by advancing the revenue model. And this is how we're going to win the war. Any questions? I was stressed. I won't have enough time. That's why I try to speak well. Sorry for to speak fast, but I have 2 minutes for questions. And I cut out half of the presentation because I thought I won't have enough time. Any questions? Yes. Yes. So for example, let's say you have your audience of buyers, your baby boomers or people 45 years plus might to respond for different ads than the people than millennials, right? This is one thing. So for some segments you'll need long video. For some segments you'll need short video. For some segments you'll need text, right? You need to test this out, but the idea is that maybe long or short video would be the common denominator that works on the majority of the audience, but not all the audience. And in order to extract the highest efficiency from your campaign, you'll need to segment and try to tailor the campaigns or offers. Are you an affiliate? Okay. So another tactic you could do in regards of segmentation is running different offers. So we used to do in the past, on iPhones would run a certain offer, and on Androids would run different offer, because it was better conversion that way. Any other questions? No? Okay. So thank you very much, guys.